Welcome back. We are here with Max Lugavere. We're having a great conversation about his new book, The Genius Life, and he's the best-selling author of Genius Foods. He's been on television a bunch. I have his brain, which always makes me happy. We did a show together for the Dr. Oz show. And we're talking about practical ways to keep your brain and your body healthy. And so we've talked about food.
Yeah, we talked
about light.
What about exercise? What about weight-bearing exercise?
Crucially important. I'm so glad you brought that up. I think that there's been a bias in the medical literature for a long time. All of the exercise interventions on brain health have really centered around aerobic exercise, which I think is certainly important, doing cardio, but I think it's been overemphasized in the literature, especially and also in the media. I think resistance training is crucially important. If that's the one exercise tip that I can give to you, it's resistance train.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Build muscle.
Yeah. Especially women. Women don't want to do it. And I'm like, you're not going to look like Ms. Olympia. Trust me, I've tried. It doesn't happen. Like if I want to look like that and I can't, you're just not built that way. Unless you are just a genetic freak, in which case, good for you. But it just doesn't, women avoid it at all costs. They don't want to have
So what are the health benefits of resistant training? When you say that, you basically mean lifting weights.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it means, having a better body composition. So, I mean, take a woman who is eating a lower protein diet because, women are told, and I think many people are told
plant-based,
to avoid meat and protein and things like that. You take an older person who's eating a low protein diet and they're not weight training, but they're doing only cardio. That is that's the perfect recipe for muscle loss
and inflammation.
And inflammation and fat gain. That's the perfect recipe. Consume a little bit more protein. Which, it's very difficult to overconsume protein. It's not bad for your kidneys. That's been a myth that has been, debunked, thankfully, if you have healthy kidneys. And weight train. It's, having stronger muscles is associated with better brain health, better brain function, better insulin sensitivity, which is the inverse of type 2 diabetes, lower inflation. You reduce inflammation with weight training. You're going to look better. You're going to feel more confident.
Yeah, it reduces your risk of osteoporosis. I mean, you just need to do it.
The stronger you are as you age, the less likely you are to get Alzheimer's disease.
And not just that.
Now, you're not saying cardio isn't important. There's this fascinating study that if you're 80 and you can walk 3 miles an hour, so I try to walk like I'm late. That's my big recommendation. You have a 90% chance you're living to 90. Right. But if you're 80 and you can only walk a mile per hour, odds are you don't have muscle and you're frail. You have a 90% chance you are not living until you're 90.
But you don't want to just do cardio. And that's what we usually tell people is like alternate it if you have to, like, because I like doing a little cardio. I like hiking. I like all that stuff. But some weight bearing exercise, especially if you've got, like me, which so many women now do, thyroid problems, you are at much higher risk for bone wasting, muscle wasting. It's osteoporosis. So weight bearing exercise becomes crucial.
And we're not recommending people start heavy because then they get hurt. And when the older you are, the longer the recovery time when you're hurt. So what are the resistance training exercises you recommend, Max?
Yeah, well, thankfully, whether or not you have access to a gym or you can do push-ups in your home or even air squats, you can, anything that's going to function as a compound exercise. So it's going to work multiple joints and muscle groups at the same time. So take a squat, for example. Squats work your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your glutes. It's really important to have strong glutes, which are meant to be the strongest muscle in the body. But because we're so sedentary these days, it actually is we atrophy it and we lift with our lower backs, causing, back pain for so many of us. Trying to work your way up to a pull-up. I know some people are going to be like, oh my God, a pull-up. How am I going to be able to do that? Well, by joining a gym, you have assisted pull-up machines that can help you get stronger. People don't appreciate, but just there was a study that took elderly sedentary people who were not resistance trained at all, and they put them on, I believe it was a 6-week program. They saw, it might have been a 6-week or a 6-month program. Don't quote me on this, but they saw a dramatic improvement in their strength, up to a 50% improvement in their strength. Crucially important.
At Tufts University, they did a study, and they got the elderly folks in nursing homes lifting just light weights to start. I mean, really lightweight, but for them it was big because they had never lifted, and their independence increased dramatically. So that was just, I mean, it's a matter of independence. And you made a really good point about squats. Well, again, the nurse in me is coming out, but what people don't think about, if you can't do a squat, we see so many people fall and hit their heads getting off the toilet when they're older, or trying to squat down to pick up something, and they lose their balance because they're not strong enough, and they'll fall and hit their head. Just so critical. It's just so crucial.
It's crucially important. I mean, again, you go to the world's blue zones or hunter-gatherer communities, you see elders squatting on the floor. You know, they're not sitting on chairs. And I'm not saying that we all need to start sitting on our floors, but being able to get up off of a floor, you're right, is a fairly good predictor of longevity. Now, when it comes to these kinds of, these exercises, I think it's really smart to pick a lighter weight at first so that you build a little bit of stability. You start to understand like what the movement is so that you don't injure yourself. And not just to do like bicep curls. Sometimes I'll go to the gym and I'll see, older adults, they're putting in their best efforts, but all they're doing are those isolation movements. You really want to focus on the exercises that are going to give you the most bang for your buck. So bench presses, or pull downs, or squats, lunges, things like that. Those are going to be the best. Start with a lightweight, but then don't be afraid to increase it, because, exercising at a level of intensity that's about 80% of your max, that's really what it takes to stimulate that muscle growth, So if all you're doing is going to the gym and, throwing up these light weights, you really want to be able to increase the weight. So if you're doing 15 to 20 repetitions, I think that's when it's time to up the weight. And actually, there was a study that came out very recently in the journal Neuroimage that found for the first time that resistance training, about 90 minutes a week, was actually able to grow the hippocampus, which this is the first time that this was ever shown with resistance training. They've shown this in the past with aerobic exercise, but by resistance training, you're not just growing bigger muscles, you're growing a bigger memory center in your brain.
I love that. So we only have 2 minutes left. What are some other of the major messages in your new book, Genius Life?
Exercise is crucially important. Exercise is medicine. But then one of the other modalities that I talk about, one of the other physical activities that I talk about is actually called non-exercise physical activity. The value of just staying active and doing things other than sitting on the couch watching TV. So being sedentary for an extended period of time literally drains blood from your brain. Whereas even simple daily, basic spontaneous movements like chasing your cat around the house,
house
or
cleaning,
doing your laundry, or doing dishes pushes fresh blood and nutrients up to your brain.
Doing the dishes, that
I know, I love it. He
much.
does the dishes. It's so great.
Yeah, it's good for the brain. It's good for the brain. Any movement is good for the brain at the end of the day. And the inverse of that, an overly sedentary lifestyle is a toxin to the brain. So I recommend people being active as much as they can, not just standing in one place, or sitting in one place, but being active, whether that means walking regularly, or doing chores around your house. And also, if you have a loved one that has dementia or some other kind of condition, this is pretty important. It's allowing them to continue to do the things that they love. I think we like to bear the burden for our loved ones, especially when they're in advanced age or they have a health condition. But it's crucial to continue to maybe assist them, but to let them do the things that get them up out of bed or off the couch. It's vital. I mean, the human body is designed to move, and stagnation is death.
Yeah, we just had this discussion in our house this morning because it's also a mood stabilizer. Let's just be honest. We're just talking about this morning. I'm not a nice person when I don't exercise. If I get too busy to move my body and I'm just sitting at a computer, because I just finished writing a book, and you can appreciate this. You got a deadline. And when I sit and write, I'm just not a balanced person. I wish I was, but I'll sit for 16 hours and then I'll get up and just go, and I don't like that, but it's just how I function best when I'm writing. And so I'm just grumpy. I don't feel good. And it's like, we constantly have this discussion. He's like, go work out because you're just not fun to be around. It changes your outlook on life. So I don't understand people.
Well, we are at the end of our time, and I'm so grateful that you reminded her to do that because it makes
you don't have to remind me. I'm not. Yeah,
it makes me happy. We're just so grateful for you, Max, and your mission in the world. I mean, we're really sorry what happened to your mom, but what we find for our Brain Warriors is basically taking your pain to purpose.
Love that you did this.
And that's what you're doing. And I just can't imagine a better thing for you to do with that hurt. And it is just helping so many people. So we are grateful for your friendship and look forward to this book being a monster success for you.
Thank you, Dr. Amen. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I can't wait to get you on my podcast. And thank you for helping me spread the word about The Genius Life. I think it's, I poured my heart and soul into it, and I hope it resonates with people.
Well, wonderful. I think it will. All right, my friend, take care.
Thank you, Doc.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.